Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect.
Okay, I've
For a little technical issue, can you please mute your phone? Thank you.
sorry, guys.
It's okay. Again, my name is Della. Thank you for joining us on the Butterfly Effect. This is our third episode. So happy to be here. And here with me are my co-hosts.
Colleen.
Paula.
It's usually Paula first, but we've shifted spots on the screen.
All the time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we go on to this third episode. Isn't that wonderful? This is our third episode. How exciting is that?
It's wonderful, and I'm so glad. And we've already got people watching. It's wonderful. I love it.
Great. So I want us to make sure that we are streaming on Facebook. And I want us to take us a few seconds and just breathe because we had some technical difficulties. And so now everything is good. We're on. And I want to make sure that we're streaming on our Facebooks and everybody who's watching this show. This is a great topic tonight. Please share with your friends if you think that they might benefit from this. And we want to keep this as interactive as possible, as always, because what you tell us, your comments, your questions brings so much value onto this podcast, and we truly appreciate it. So with that, let's jump in. Our topic tonight is control real? Or is it an illusion? What is it?
So I think it's so apropos that we had so much trouble getting set up because we're talking about control, and we had zero control over getting online on time. So I think that's awesome.
And I mean, you're right, because it was one of those moments where we truly got tested, didn't we, guys? We got tested because it was just not working. So glad we're here, but
Yes.
we're gonna jump in. And actually, what we're gonna start off with, girls, if you agree, is we're going to ask the audience, our viewers, to please write in the chat box some expressions that have the word control in them. If you can think of an expression in the English language that has the word control in it, please go ahead and put it in the chat box. And we can have some fun with this. And but Colleen and Paula, you do that too. So what are some expressions that you can think of that have the word control? So think of those and have them handy as we give our audience a bit of a chance to get collected and head on to the comment section and write down for us, type in the chat box what expression you know that has the word control in it.
Maybe we can each share one to get them rolling, give them an idea of what we're looking for.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit because we were talking about this earlier. So I'm gonna take one of the ones that we were chatting about. I like control freak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, control freak.
So
So when you say control freak, Colleen, what type of emotion does that provoke in you?
Embarrassment, a little bit, because there have been times where I've been called that, and I try very hard not to be that. So yeah, so there's a little bit of embarrassment that comes with that term, and I don't know what did it evoke in you?
Control freak?
Yeah.
It's not embarrassment. What it evoked in me was a sense of eek, like right, like not. It's an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
As if I was on the receiving line of being controlled. That's the feeling.
Oh, so you're the recipient of the.
Yeah. So that's how I felt. What about you, Paula?
The same feeling for me, Della. I don't. Yeah, like Colleen, I've also been called control freak in the past, especially after I had my first child. I was a complete control freak. Nobody could touch her at first. So I remember that feeling. See, what I've experienced now that I'm talking about it, looking back.
Oh,
we've lost.
Am I still there?
Yeah, you're back.
we kind of lost you. So you were saying what you were experiencing?
I think she's frozen again. Oh.
Yes, we've
Can you hear me?
Very broken.
Okay.
So maybe
what I was trying to say, let's try this again. Otherwise, I'll come off and I'll try the phone and I'm holding it in my hand. I'll try that out too. Okay. So what I was saying is that when I was in it completely, I was very controlling about how things should be done about that little baby, right? I wasn't aware. So I was called a control freak by my brother, for example, or even my husband at the time said that you're such a control freak with this baby. And I didn't even take it personal. I'm like, oh, so what? Like, it was just one of those, like, I was so embedded into that belief that I'm the only one that can change that diaper properly, or I'm the only one that, because I'm nursing, I'm the only one that can feed the baby. You know, it was just one of those. So I think when you are in that emotion, you're not even aware of what you're doing. I wasn't aware of being so controlling until I had my second child, and things were different. And because I've developed that awareness and I wasn't so controlling anymore, I was more relaxed, I was more going with the flow. Seeing other mothers with their first child being controlling the way it was, that's when I actually realized it.
So you recognized yourself in their behavior.
Yes. Big time. But I was so understanding, I was like, you know what? It's a first child. I was trying to cover it up for them, enabling them to stay there in a way, Yeah.
I think we can all agree that at some point or other, we can be control freaks.
Of course. Yeah, right? I agree.
And we can take it too far. And I think, pardon?
I was going to say that I think down deep, at a very deep level, we humans have this desire for certainty and control, 100%. Yeah. And for some strange reason, when we are in control, or we feel that we are in control, we feel that we are more equipped and able to achieve the outcome that we desire, and somehow even my experience has been that even the overall well-being was boosted just from that illusion of being in control.
Well, there's a fine line there, right? I think that there's a fine line. We desire control because we get that feeling of peacefulness and contentment, and then there's the danger that that we're actually creating more stress because we're trying to, when we become over controlling.
Yes.
Would it be all right if I shared a quote?
Absolutely, do that. I'm going to share it with people, okay?
So I found this online. I couldn't find who it was attributed to, but it spoke to me, so I wanted to share it. I've learned that when you try to control everything, you enjoy nothing.
Ooh.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. That speaks to me.
Yeah.
So why did you like that quote, Colleen? Why did you pick that quote?
Because I've seen it, I've witnessed it when and especially with some of my coaching clients, when they're talking about how they're trying to control and micromanage everything, and it actually causes them more stress and more anxiety. And so that one really spoke to me because I've seen it over and over and over again. So
so we'll come back to some more quotes. I want to say hi to some people that are watching us right now. Annie is watching. Hi, sister. Sue's watching. Kim, Robert J. Moore, our friend is watching. Debbie is watching. Chrissy. Lisa Anna Palmer is watching. Hi, Lisa. So thank you so much. As you're joining us, just so you know, we are talking about control. Is it real? Is it an illusion? What does control mean to you, our viewers? And we're asking you to please go ahead in the comment section and jot down an expression that comes to your mind that has the word control in it. And what type of emotion does that evoke in you? Okay, so Matt, you said you told us a quote, Colleen. What about you, Paula? Is there a quote that speaks to you on control that you want to share with us?
Oh, I think she's frozen in a really beautiful pose.
No, it's fantastic.
I know you had one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say mine. I like this one. I'm not really a control freak, but can I show you how to do that right? And that really is so true when you are dealing with someone who is a controlling type of person.
Yeah.
So, and so that speaks to me because there are a lot of times, especially when you're in a position of management, or you're in a position where you have people that work for you.
Yeah.
We sometimes feel like we are the only ones who can do that job properly or perfectly. So yeah.
I just wanted to share a story because it's funny that you said management. When one of my old bosses, it was funny because he used to use that phrase all the time when he would go, and it wasn't even work related. He would go into the kitchen and everybody had
to bring back Paula.
Perfect. He would go into the kitchen and the dishwasher, we would put our dishes in and he would come in and it's like, I'm not a control freak, but I just need to fix this. Like, and he would reposition all the dishes in the dishwasher and while saying that he wasn't a control freak. So yeah, so it's funny that you said that.
We know a lot of people who are really really serious about the way the dishwasher is loaded, right? I know a few people. Okay, so what about you, Paula? Do you have a quote with control that speaks to you?
I can't. No, I don't. I don't have it memorized, and I can't access it because I'm using my daughter's phone.
So that's okay.
But I can give some examples of how that works.
Yes, please do that.
I was thinking as you guys were talking and in between, because I couldn't really, I was not there for the whole time. I think I like to tie in the fact that control actually feels good. It feels good for us because it makes us believe that we are not under the control of someone else. And that sounds funny, but it's true, think about rituals, for example. Right? Do you guys agree with that?
100%.
I think you're going in the right direction, and it's great to have a different perspective, right? So, please.
When you mention the rituals, I think of like bedtime routines, especially with toddlers, right? And infants and toddlers, we create these routines, and they're to some degree an aspect of control, but it gives them a feeling of being safe because it's predictable.
That's exactly it. That's what I was thinking as well. So it's that human need. Even Tony Robbins talks about it in the 6 human needs. We use rituals because we like to do the same things all the time, so we can have that feeling of certainty and contentment.
Mhm.
And what comes to mind also, it's, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Stoic philosophy.
Not really, no.
What was that?
No,
Sorry.
I'm not familiar.
So it's the philosophy that teaches us how to differentiate and become aware between the things we actually do have control over versus the things we don't have control over, or the things we can influence versus the things we can't influence. And a great example will be, let's say, for example, a flight gets delayed because of the weather. Now, perhaps you get into that state of, oh my gosh, and you yell at the airline representative. Would that change anything? Because if there is a storm, the storm won't just stop just because you yell, right? Mm-hmm. And another example will be, let's say you pray for, you visualize, you write all kinds of positive affirmations, you do whatever it is that you think it may take to grow just a little taller or to be just a little shorter. Does that work? You know what I mean? Like putting in everything we know.
Yeah.
So those are some examples of the things we actually sometimes tend to spend time focusing on, hoping that we can control.
Yeah.
And determined that, no, I'm gonna, I remember growing up, I think I was about 17, and there is a belief that girls can actually grow up to 21 years of age. Boys, they kind of stop at 18, 19. So I remember reading this, or I don't know if I read or I heard someone saying, all you have to do is do yoga, stretch on the bars, and you'll grow taller. I tried everything. Nothing worked.
So this is, I don't know if I'm interrupting you or if you were. No. Okay. So you guys know this about me already. I have this like amazing prayer that is my total favorite, and it's called the Serenity Prayer. And as you're talking, Paula, that kind of reminds me of the Serenity Prayer, right? Yeah. So we have some audience participation. Do you mind if I read through them?
I'd love to hear them.
Okay. All right. First of all, we have Rizwan Rashid joining us. Thank you for watching. Robert says, the control sample would be a bird cannot love freely when caged.
When caged, yes. I remember. Yeah, I agree.
This is good. And then Lisa says, we can't control everything. We can only control our reactions to the situations we face. Well, mostly controlled, and wink, wink. Lisa says she loves the Serenity Prayer. So
can you recite the Serenity Prayer for us?
I would love to. So the Serenity Prayer is, it goes like this. You can replace the word God, but whatever you want. This is religiously respectful, okay? It's up to you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot control, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So to me, that speaks volume, right? And it's kind of like what you said, Paula, and only I didn't know that term Stoic. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Anything else on this? Because I would love to say the next expression that has the word control in it.
I'd love to hear it. Is it from the audience? Is it one of ours?
No, it's one of ours.
Okay.
Okay. So how about this term? Hang on. Control yourself. what does that evoke in you? What kind of an emotion does that evoke in you? So just in case you're just joining us, we are talking about control and also asking you to please share with us an expression with the word control in it, in the English language. And what does that evoke in you? What kind of an emotion does it evoke in you? Positive, negative? So what do you think? When I say control yourself, what does that evoke in you, Colleen? You're laughing.
I know, because it implies I'm out of control.
Yes.
So yeah, so it makes me. I don't know. Obviously, it made me smile. It made me think. So I guess in my unconscious mind, because I'm not thinking of a particular time, but I think Lisa could probably attest to some
control
moments where I could have exhibited a little bit more self-control. But
Jackie says, "LOL, control yourself."
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Paula?
I don't know actually. I'm trying to tie in an emotion to it, and there is no emotion. Like I've cultivated the power of positive thinking and mastering my mind somewhat. So even if people say things that once upon a time used to bother me or will make me react or become defensive, nowadays it's like I've learned to ignore the people that live by exploring or expressing negative emotions, you know? So no emotion comes. Like I've learned to just accept what is. When someone says something like that, if anything, I maybe ask, what do you mean? You know?
To you?
Yeah.
Because I'll
ask you, Della, what do you mean?
Right? So to me, it's like it could be negative or positive. I think that's one of those expressions that people use in any, in a variety of situations.
Right.
Right? Like if you hug me too much, I'll go, relax, control yourself, right? Like in a funny way. But it could also be used in a much more serious situation.
Yeah, of course.
I hear a crackling noise. I don't know what that is, but it's
crackling. I wonder if it's from me. I'm on the phone and I'm holding it because it's not charged. It's not my phone.
Okay. So next expression. How about under control?
That ties into the other one. I think that they're very similar. But the under control implies that there's like pressure. When you said it, it made me think that there's pressure for you to apply. Right? To keep something under control, you're going to apply pressure. So for a person, you're looking at me like it doesn't make sense. So
no, I'm just distracted by the crackling noise.
Well, see, and then Lisa made the comment of control yourself, and I think that the under control, I kind of put those two in the same category.
So she's saying whenever control yourself has been said to me or Colleen, it was when we were laughing too loud or having too much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, all right. So next, I have take control. Oh, we lost Paula.
Yeah.
Okay, that's too bad, and I do apologize. This is one of those situations where we have no control. These things do happen.
It's a test.
Pardon?
I said it's a test.
Yeah, it's a test how controlling we want to be. Okay, Pauline, what about under control. Oh, did we say under control already?
Yeah.
We said take control. Oh, there's Paul. Hello again.
Sorry. Hello.
Oh, much better.
Take control makes me think that that something is out of control and that we need to bring it back into our control. So
yeah, just like what Paula did right now.
yeah, exactly.
Well, this is actually a proper example, like right here, hands-on, of how control is actually an illusion. Like honestly, I even said earlier, no, I'm gonna control the network. Wait, watch me, right? And then look at this. Like I keep on coming in and coming out, trying the phone, trying the computer. We do not know. We can't predict. We can predict. We can the environment outside reacts, or like what happens at work, what happens even at home with your own family. You can't predict it. You can't control it either.
Yeah.
So is control real? To a certain extent, I believe it is, because we coming back to what I said earlier. If we diligently practice to master and control our own mindset, then the only thing we can have control over is our own inner feeling, our own happiness, our own reactions.
I agree.
This is a great way, right? I want to ask you both this question and also the audience.
Okay.
Okay. What do we get from control? What do we think we're going to accomplish if we are in control? And I know Paula touched on that a little bit with the certainty and the human needs. What else? What do you think, Colleen? And what about the audience, the viewers? By the way, Austin Haynes just showed us. Hi, Austin. Awesome.
I think that, so what do we think that we're going to get? I'm going to touch on that, but I did want to mention, Paula, it looks like you're frozen again, but you mentioned about that we can control our reactions, and we have control over ourselves to some degree, and we have anything outside of ourselves. Sometimes we try to control, but the reality is you can't control anything outside of yourself. Mm-hmm. So when you ask the question, what do we think that we're going to get by being, by trying to control situations? I think, especially when it's outside of ourselves, we're trying to make things more efficient or run more smoothly, or, I'm thinking about work situations or in family situations where sometimes we might be trying to control how everybody does it. And I think it's super important to reflect and look and say, is this really helpful? Is this contributing or taking away from this experience? Mm-hmm. So I think that we're trying to make things more efficient or go the right way. But I think that part is the illusion part. What do you think?
Paula, are you with us?
I'm with you, but I've lost parts of what Colleen said. I have not heard, so I don't know.
Okay.
You may answer that.
So the question was, why are we why do we feel the need to control situations? And I thought you touched on that a little bit, but is there something else that you can add?
The need to control.
Yeah, so what do we accomplish from being in control, or thinking that having the illusion of control? I've got a comment from Lisa. If you want me to read that first. We get the illusion of certainty, safety, security, and predictability, so we can plan ahead. I think you said that, Paula, right? So anything to add to that?
No, I think that's about.
Yeah, Lisa pretty much wrapped it up in a good parcel there.
Finishing. Yeah. Okay, see you later. No, okay, wait a minute. Before we move on, I think so going back to the Serenity Prayer, I think the first verse I made a mistake actually, because it's not okay, so it goes like this. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And I think I said I cannot control. Isn't that funny how I changed that to control? But it's kind of the same meaning. But yeah, so just wanted to correct myself there. I learned a couple of things while doing a workshop, and I want to talk to you about that and see what your thoughts are on that. So I was taking these workshops through this psychologist, and she taught us that most of us feel the need to control situations, and we use control strategies because we feel like we need to. And so she said we want to gain power over situations by using these control strategies. And so she said some of us bully other people, and that's how we control. Some of us play the victim, and that's how we control our situations. Some of us are the interrogator, we're always asking those drilling questions. Being nosing around in other people's businesses, and that's how we want to control the situation. And some of us laugh our way through a situation, we play the joker like nothing is really important, and that's how we control the situation. And then the last group is people who go in a corner. For example, those are the people, who don't answer you back, or who don't pick up your phone, or for your phone calls, or who don't email you back, or you talk to them and they don't answer you. And that's how they control situations. So what's your take on this? What do you think?
So the last one, they passive aggressive, right?
Okay. Yeah.
They withdraw, they're passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I think those are all really good examples of ways that different personalities will try to take control of a situation. And I think that as you were saying all those things, different pictures of people in my mind popped in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that person uses bullying, that person uses, is the victim, and to put that together with the idea that that's their way of controlling it, I think that's very enlightening. Thank you.
So you kind of resonated with
it made a lot of sense to me for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would like to add the fact that perhaps some will learn these strategies based on the environment that they grow up in, how they've been treated or mistreated by their family members, teachers. So I believe you said something along the line that those are learned strategies and they do it on purpose. I will actually take that purpose out. And I'm not saying that will be like definite 100% one way or the other. I think it could happen either way, but sometimes we are the I can't even find the correct word. We by default of what's happening around us, we end up behaving that way, right? So for example, you can become moody, you can become jealous, you can become so stern about this is how I want things to be. And those signals, like for example, someone becomes moody, right? It's very easily misunderstood because there are many reasons one can be moody. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. So I remember way back many months ago when I was still in Romania, and I went and auditioned for the Romanian ballet, and I got my yes. And at the time, I had a boyfriend. You know, the times that a boyfriend will be someone that you just hold hands and walk in the park and eat popcorn with. You know, that's the type of boyfriend. And I remember meeting and being excited and sharing that excitement with him. And then him saying, "Yeah, you know, that's very nice. But I had a terrible day today, and I don't really feel like celebrating. I hope that's okay." So I remember thinking back now, I actually felt sorry for the guy, and I was like, okay, forget about me. What about what happened? Like, do you need help? And I thought he needs the love and attention. And I've later on learned that indeed was a strategy for him to try and control his environment, try and at all means control everything. All the attention had to be on him. But as time went on and we grew and we got older and we stayed friends, I realized that he didn't do that on purpose. You know?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you?
So you're saying that was his strategy to control his situation, right? Or for whatever reason. But so you're saying, Paula, these are learned behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it takes some degree of awareness to kind of realize that's how we're feeling. So I want to read Austin's comment because I think it's really cool. He says, I think a good question to ask is the control fear-based?
Yeah. And I think that ties in with what Paula was saying.
Yes.
Fear, trauma, like it comes from pain, right? So somebody is feeling out of control or and they're trying to grasp control because of either fear or insecurity or all those. There's a lot of emotions that can lead to somebody wanting to grab control in some way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a good question, Austin. Thank you.
And
so here comes a question. Oh, hi.
Here. Hello, butterfly angels. Isn't that Thank you, Ahmed. I don't know. Do you have questions on your feed that I don't see here? Because I'm only seeing the questions that are on my feed.
I think I'm looking, and I don't know if I'm looking at the same one as you.
Yeah, probably.
Or if they're all tied together. I'm seeing the exact same comments.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay then. What about you, Paula? Do you see any feeds or no? I forgot. You're not able to see feeds.
On my network, actually, I'd rather stay off just so I can at least hear you. But I was going to ask a question. Now, if control is an illusion, right? And please, I welcome the audience. What can we control? Is there anything that we can control?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great question because I think it all comes down to that. Right? Yeah. So please let us know what can you control? What is it that you control in life? What about you, Colleen?
Well, I think that I've learned recently that I have to release control because that's one of the things I find that every time I'm trying to control something, it doesn't happen the way I want it to, and then it builds frustration. So I'm learning that the only thing I can control is my reaction to what's happening around me. I can't control what's happening, but I can control my reaction. So, and I find it a much more peaceful existence when I let go a little bit. So
that's cool. Yeah, great. Paula?
Well, my mind takes me back to what I said earlier about the fact that I believe the only thing we can control is our mind, our mental state. And there is a value in exercising and taking time to practice that. It won't happen overnight, right? So there are steps you can take. And for example, one is valuing yourself, like treating yourself with kindness, respecting and avoiding of all costs self-criticism. Make time for you, for your needs, for your hobbies, for your whatever projects you may want to undertake, or do something that's just for you. That's I find that in our go society, we come last. We do a thing for everyone and for anything. I got kicked out again.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Did you hear, or I think I've lost you?
We got the gist of what you said. We got the gist. So I want to bring up Ahmad Shah's comment on this. Control can be natural, which is good, and attempted, which is unnatural. What's your take on this? Control can be natural, which is good.
I'm curious what he means by natural. And
So, okay, what on his next comment, he says natural control
thank you.
is a product of our knowledge and our ability to be cause. So cause, not effect. And those are teachings of Mayor Ezra. So what's your take on this? Ahmad Shah, you may have to keep writing here.
When I read this, it reminds me the first coach that I worked with is my hypnotherapist, and her name is Jennifer. And when I've been to her courses, she talks about, are you living at cause or at effect? Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that the gist was basically what I said earlier is that you get to choose how you react to each and every situation. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at a car accident, right? So there's two cars, they're in an accident, and you've heard me use this analogy before, Della. So two people are in a car accident. They have similar damage to their vehicles, and they both step out of the car, and one of them comes out and is like upset and so inconvenienced, and now my car's broken and I have to get a new car, and the other person steps out of the very same accident with the same damage, and they are so grateful that they are okay, that that they came out unscathed. And so are you living at cause or are you living at effect? What are you is your mood dependent on what's happening around you, or are you choosing what that mood is? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I got from that statement. I don't know. Did you guys get the same idea, or?
Paula?
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, absolutely. We how we react, it's everything, because the environment around us will always change. There will always be some things that may not go just the way we planned. I remember even saying to the children, sometimes my little one says, well, you lied to me. You said we're going to do this today. And somehow something happened and we had planned to do some things. But in that day, we weren't able to do them all. So then I said, look, we change our plans because of the weather, or because we had to stop and get gas and the time ran out, or things happen. And then she says, oh, right? The first initial was like, you were lying, mommy. You said we're going to do this. So absolutely is I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. I think for me, it makes sense because I've experienced it. So I explained it to her, how things can change. So we cannot change what happens. Absolutely, Colleen. I agree with you. We don't have anything in our power to change what happens around us, but we do have a choice to make in how we react.
Yeah.
And that choice can be cultivated if your tendency is to impulsively react, right? There is a need for self-care, self-understanding,
I was wondering
whatever it is.
I was wondering if we could kind of, because we're getting closer to the end of our time. I was wondering, and you touched on it earlier, Paula, if we could talk a little bit about what kinds of signs or things can we recognize in ourselves or in other people that would indicate that we or they are being more controlling. You mentioned jealousy. I think you mentioned the person that gentleman that withdrew, right? And so what kinds of things would be an indicator to you that somebody or yourself is being controlling in that moment?
Me?
Yeah.
And
the audience, of course. I'd love to hear from them.
Before I jump in, I want to read a couple of more comments, if that's
sure.
Okay. So Ahmed Shah, I don't know if this can all fit here. Yes. We either live by design or, we're hiding Paula's face. Hold on. We either live by design or by default. If we live by design, we will need to be caused over a larger portion of our life. Planning, initiative, and being proactive. When we live by default and we become effect of our circumstances and lose control over most aspect of our life. I think this is the gist of what the both of you said, actually. This is true.
I love people agree with me.
I know, right? Yeah. Especially when put in words so eloquently, like always manages to. Austin Haynes says, I think the fact is we can control our decisions, nothing more. And I think we can all agree with this. We are constantly making decisions. We create our own certainty or lack of certainty based on our decisions.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And it goes back to the fact that we always have a choice. We always have a choice.
Yeah.
Right? When we have control over what choice we make. So going back to your question, Colleen, how do we know when someone is in dire need of control? Is that,
basically in ourselves or in other people? What are some things that you could see that would trigger that about that person?
Okay. So to me, it looks like this. So what I would feel is uncomfortable, wanting to prove myself. If I'm trying to be in control of a situation,
okay.
Maybe I'm hopeless. I feel hopeless because I cannot really change the situation.
Yeah.
I get angry, frustrated. Those are some feelings that I would think I would feel.
So I'm hearing that you're saying anxiety and short temper.
Anxiety, depression, all those wonderful. Right? Exactly. So that's what I would feel. Is that pretty accurate?
Well, I think that those are definitely when when you're feeling out of control, that's how you would feel, right?
Yes. And if I feel like I have the illusion of I need to control this situation and I can't, those are what I'm going to be feeling, right?
Yeah.
Paula?
Well, going to the question that Colleen had regarding some of the signs, I suppose, that could possibly be there, aside from what I mentioned earlier, jealousy and maybe moodiness, or maybe even taking no for an answer, demanding things. I think it's also ignoring your preferences. So people that are generally have tendencies towards controlling, they have this tendency to define their reality by expecting others to change their plans, to give up their desires, to all the goals and everything somehow revolves around their.
Yeah. Paula, sorry, it's the connection is not allowing
Did
us.
you guys lose me again?
Yeah.
It's really hard to.
I lost you. Then you.
Yeah, it's hard to make out what you're saying. It's too bad because you always have so many wonderful things to say. Can I read Austin's
Yes.
comment?
Lisa has a good comment, and Austin has a good comment as well.
Yeah. So what does it say here? Lisa, oh, that's right. Lisa says anyone who tries to manipulate others is attempting to control.
Yeah.
I think, Paul, you said something like that.
Yes.
You said that actually. And Austin says a good metaphor is we're like the captain of the ship. We can't change the sea or the weather, but we are constantly navigating. We are moving the ship based on the feedback of the sea and weather to stay on course.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah?
Yeah. It's very well said. There's not much.
Yeah, it's really good. Ava says, a person in dire need of control cannot consider, respect, or appreciate anything coming from the other person.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. I like it. Yeah.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. Amazing. So anything else on the topic of control? I mean, we could talk about this forever, but I
wanted to share just Lisa was talking about people that are manipulative, like trying to manipulate the situation or a person. Some of the things that came into my mind were anytime somebody feels the need, whether it's yourself or somebody else, feels the need to make it right. Like if they it doesn't necessarily need changing, but they just need to correct it somehow, then that's an indicator that they have control, that they're trying to control that situation. Or if they're trying to direct people other than themselves, then that's the possible. People that are very critical of others are exhibiting, signs of trying to be controlling.
Well, Ahmed Shah says there's a positive aspect to control and a negative aspect to it. We need to look at the big picture that will include both.
Yes, I agree with Ahmed.
I think I think you brought us to that today, that there is a positive aspect to control. And I hadn't really looked at it that way. So thank you for that perspective. Even though I couldn't hear everything you said, because you always have so much just to awesome information to share. Okay, so what can we do? We want to finish this off, but we also want a couple of tools, a couple of strategies. First of all, so we now know that there's some things we can control, some things we cannot control. We also know that we need to feel like we are in control because it's good for us as human beings, right? Agreed?
Yeah.
All right. So we also need to know the difference between what we can control and what we cannot control.
Yeah.
We also need to be aware of how we feel when we are trying to delusionally control.
Yes.
Right?
I like the way you worded that.
Right? So then what?
So I think the first step is to be aware, right? So I think it's important for us to reflect on our behaviors and the way that we're addressing things. So those things that we kind of listed earlier, do you ever find that you're being jealous? Do you ever find that you're trying to, make things right? Everybody does everything wrong, and it's, it's up to you to make it right, and those types of things. So if you reflect and be aware, I think awareness is in so many ways, but in this way especially, being aware that you're doing it is the first step in not doing it, right? Or in letting go. And I think that's the next thing, is you have to be able to, however feels right to you, let go to some extent, and have faith that things will work out fine. Even if it's not the way that you would do it, it's still fine. It's like, I don't let the kids do the laundry because they don't fold the clothes right or whatever. Like, is it going to be the end of the world if, the towels are crooked? And in the moment you might think, yeah, it's the worst thing. But honestly, if the towels are folded crooked, it's still good. They're still folded. Is the toilet paper on wrong?
So are you saying then that control is linked to OCD?
Oh, hey.
Well, we all have a little bit of that in us, right? I think that we all have a tiny bit of that in us. But
hey, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? I kind of, as Colleen was talking, I'm thinking that sounds very much like that example that she gave with the towels. It's more in line with not necessarily just control, but also a multitude of other different reasons. And I think it ties up with the idea of even what Ahmed was saying. There are differences, and it's a matter of finding that balance, because we all have those tendencies. And I believe that as adults, we no longer can hide behind saying, well, that's how I was treated when I was a child.
Yeah.
Well, that's how my dad said, or my mom did, or my brother didn't do. Right? You're responsible for how you respond, how you react, the choice you make. So the huge part in all this is understanding that responsibilities, it's an important factor. Right?
Like Austin said earlier, it's decisions. You're making decisions along the way.
Yeah, that's very much true.
Yeah,
so,
I love that bit about the responsibility, Paula. You're talking about taking personal responsibility for the part you play.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and stopping the blame game. I mean, I'm this way because.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then goes back to what we also said earlier, that really the only thing we can work on it's our own mindset. And there are other things that we can work on, right? Like or develop strategies that will help us either calm down with a deep breath,
I was just thinking, do you have any ideas of how we could work on our mindset? And you went right deep breath. I like that one.
So minds are connected.
I know.
The fastest way to kind of stop and reset, for me personally, it's stopping and taking few deep breaths. And I'm saying taking deep full breaths because when we are under stress, when we are under the influence of the idea of I lost control or I must have control, we tend to tense. Our body tenses. And when we tense, we breathe from the upper part of the chest.
Yeah.
We don't take deep breaths. And as taking deep full breaths with your, like literally closing your eyes and taking full deep breaths in and full breaths out, you calm down instantly and you can think clearly. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but there are different kinds of breaths, right? You can deep breathing, you can do focused breathing, just to take your mind off of what initially disturbed you or ignited in you something that emotionally you were not able to right there in that moment manage. And it comes down to emotional intelligence. Like that comes practice. It doesn't come overnight, like everything else. Well, tell me about it. So,
do you want to guide us through a minute of, a couple of minutes of deep breathing, or a minute, or whatever it takes?
So I would do breaths, 30 seconds, deep breaths, if done properly, will trigger those happy hormones.
So options, since I mentioned two different breathing.
Well, whichever one you want to do.
Should we ask the audience?
Should we ask them to? Yeah, they need to do this with us, obviously.
Of course.
But let me read Ahmed's last comment too. Like, not the last comment, but that's the last comment that's on here. Sorry. Our intentions will determine whether we are dealing with good control or bad one.
Yeah.
If our intentions to serve self and others, it is good. And if the intention is to serve self at the expense of others, then it is really bad.
Yeah.
That puts it into perspective.
It really does.
Amen to that. Okay.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you.
Keep breathing. So let's go.
All right, everybody. Listen.
We can either keep your eyes open or close them, whichever way you want. I'm going to keep them open because I want to watch what's happening with the two of you, so I can guide the rest. So take a deep breath, allowing your abdomen to expand fully. Now hold it up at the top for like 3 seconds and let your breath out all at once with a sigh if you want.
Oh, we've lost Paula.
Yeah, that's not good.
So we'll do a nice,
like this.
Oh, here we go.
At least we didn't lose her when we.
In through the nose.
So
Yeah.
deep breath through the nose or the mouth, allowing the abdomen to expand fully. Hold it at the top for 3 seconds and let the breath out all at once with even a sigh, or if not, just through the mouth, through the nose, whichever way you feel comfortable. Now, let's do that a few times, like at least 2 to 3 times. So that way there will be a rhythm in our breath. So take a deep breath again. Out. Take it again. And now shake your body. How do you feel? I would like to hear if anybody can comment. How do they feel?
Our viewers, how do you feel? How did that little breathing exercise make you feel?
I'm curious if the viewers feel the same thing that I do. Is every time I do deep breathing exercises like that, I feel like all the tension just drains out of me.
Yeah.
It just, and my whole body just feels that. Whew.
Yeah.
Did anybody else feel that?
I'm waiting for comments, but I want to. So just to be mindful of the time. So I really want us to talk about the 2 last things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But I do want to remind you, the 2 of you, of the last time we were together and we did that laugh therapy for a couple of minutes, and that was awesome. So Paula guided us in this laugh therapy, and we were laughing our heads off for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. It was the best thing ever. It was awesome. Okay, so here's Ahmed Shah saying, moved, shaken, and awake. LOL. Thank you, Ahmed. So Miss Paula has, oh no, we're going to do that other thing first. Okay, there you go.
Did you see it come out? Did you see me grab it? So the 3 of us have contributed, and I know you can't see the names, but the 3 of us have contributed to this book. It's called Magnetic Entrepreneur COVID-19 Lockdown. And it's just our stories. There's 20 authors that have contributed, and the three of us have all contributed to this book. And it's available through Amazon and Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. And it's just our stories about our experience with COVID and how it affected our businesses or our lives. And one of the things I really love about this is that even there's 20 authors, and all the proceeds are going to feeditforward.ca, which is an organization that gets food to the underprivileged. So I just wanted, so it's called Magnetic Entrepreneur COVID-19 Lockdown. And I think the link is on my page, and I can share it again. And all the proceeds are going to get, if you want to look it up, it's called feeditforward.ca. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
If Robert's watching, I'm sure he can add
link to. Somebody received.
Yeah.
Oxford Shaw got his copy yesterday.
Yes, he did. He did. Thank you, Emma. Okay, now on to the next business, and I want everybody to please pay attention. This is a very dear and near to our hearts. Amazing announcement. So please, 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 drum roll. Miss Paula de Kenya. Please announce your big announcement.
Paula?
Paula? Can you hear us?
Okay,
You're up. Go, Paula, go.
Paula. Okay, all right. So I'll start this off, and you can. Okay, our friend Paula is has been nominated to compete in Miss Health and Wellness 2020. And pardon? Health and Fitness. Yes. And so we would like everybody to please, please, please vote for her. And the voting starts on the 20th of July, and you can vote every day. She can, and this is solely based on the number of votes that the contestants get. So we want Paula to win because she's amazing. She is Miss Health, she's Miss Wellness, and she is just honestly with a big heart, and she is so beautiful, and we really want her to win. So the link is in the first comment under this post. Please go ahead and remember to vote for her on the 20th of July and every day after that. we know, like Colleen and I both know how hard she works to make this a reality. So we would really, really, really want to see her win that title. Is there anything you want to add?
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
So
I would have never imagined to actually compete in anything along this line. So when I was approached and asked, I was like, sure, why not? Let's go for it. Like I was thinking in my mind, the Canadian is gonna win this, so we'll see.
So
we'll see.
I just want to point out, Paula, on Paula's behalf, that this is a fitness contest, a health and fitness contest. And Paula is somewhere in her 40s, and she is a mother of 3 daughters, and she is the most fit person that I probably know. So definitely check it out, and you will want to vote for her because she's amazing, and you will it's just amazing how you have made this a priority in your life, and I admire you so much for this. So I'm definitely going to vote every day until they don't let me vote anymore.
And if you're wondering, go ahead and click on that link right under this post and check out some of her pictures. This is not just a fit person. This is a supernatural, flexible mother of 3. I mean, she can bend like a pretzel. It's It's really amazing. Okay, so girls,
Alright.
out of time, like completely. So
Yes.
even though there were things happening tonight that were totally out of our control, we managed to pull through. And I want to congratulate you both. And I want to congratulate you, Paula, on your tenacity and your persistence. Thank you so much for still being here with us. And Colleen, my precious co-host, as well. Thank you so much for coming along. And for everybody else who tuned in, I want to thank you for engaging as much as you did and keeping this going. We appreciate you so, so very much. And your comments are valuable to us. Thank you. And with that, I would like to invite you to join us on the next Butterfly Effect, which is going to be on August the 20th. No.
20th.
Yes, thank you. At 9 p.m. We'll announce that. And Paula?
This is the Butterfly Effect. Bringing you love.
Hope.
And compassion.
Till next time, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for your time and your comments and your support.
Vote for Paula.
And a virtual hug.